My phone buzzed with a text from my sister. "We're pregnant," it read next to a string of happy emojis. I should have been thrilled. My sister and I were as close as you could get, and this was the news we'd all been praying for, but something about how she wrote it felt off. My pulse picked up as I tapped to download the attached ultrasound, and that's when I saw it. Tucked in the corner, right next to the date, was the patient's name, except it wasn't my sister's, and the father's name. It wasn't my brother-in-law's. It was my fiancé's. That single photo didn't just break my heart, it armed me for the war that was about to begin. Before that text, I thought my life was perfect. I really, truly believed it. My fiancé, Alex, was the kind of man you read about in books. We met in college, a classic story of a library study session turning into a coffee date that just never ended. For 7 years, he was my rock, my partner, my best friend. He had this easy smile that could calm down any room and a way of looking at me that made me feel like the only person in the world. We were a team. We built a life together, celebrating every little win, from graduating college to landing our first real jobs, to finally buying a small house with a yard big enough for the golden retriever we planned on getting. Our engagement wasn't a surprise. It was the next logical step. He proposed on our anniversary at the same tiny Italian restaurant where we'd first admitted we had feelings for each other. The ring was perfect, a simple, elegant diamond he'd designed himself. When he slipped it on my finger, it felt less like a question and more like a promise of forever. We were deep in wedding planning, a happy, chaotic mess of cake tastings and venue tour. Our biggest fight was over whether to hire a live band or a DJ. The idea that any of it could be a lie wasn't just unlikely, it felt impossible. And then there was my sister, Chloe. She wasn't just my sister, she was my other half, the keeper of all my secrets. We were only 2 years apart and basically inseparable. We had our own language of inside jokes and knowing glances. When I was heartbroken over some high school crush, she was there with ice cream and a bad rom-com. I loved her husband, Mark, a kind, steady guy who adored her. But his job as a geologist meant he was often away for weeks, sometimes months, on remote assignments. I knew it was hard on Chloe, so I always made a point to be there for her, to fill the quiet nights with sister dinners and long phone calls. So when her name lit up my phone that evening, I smiled. Alex and I were actually at our Italian place, binders and swatches spread across the table, arguing about flowers. He wanted lilies, I wanted peonies. I figured it was a funny meme or a picture of a new dress. I opened the message. "We are pregnant." The words practically jumped off the screen, followed by a bunch of champagne and baby emojis. A wave of pure joy washed over me. I gasped and grabbed Alex's arm. "Oh my God, Chloe's pregnant." He smiled that perfect smile of his. "That's amazing, babe," he said, taking my hand. "We have to celebrate." This was the moment we'd all been waiting for. Chloe and Mark had been trying for a couple of years with some heartbreaking disappointments. The joy was so overwhelming that it took a second for the weirdness to sink in. A tiny, nagging detail. We are pregnant. Mark was on a 3-month job in Alaska. He wasn't due back for another 6 weeks. How could they know together? My brain, ever the optimist, raced to find an explanation. Maybe he came home early as a surprise. I just chalked it up to her being excited. "She sent a picture," I told Alex, my thumb hovering over the download icon. "I can't wait to see my niece or nephew." Alex leaned in, resting his chin on my shoulder, his arm around my waist. We were the perfect picture of a happy couple sharing a family moment. I tapped the screen, the image loaded, and my world stopped. Section 2, The Crack in the Universe. The ultrasound was a grainy swirl of black and white. It was beautiful. Right in the center was a tiny, bean-shaped speck of new life. For a split second, that's all I saw. My eyes filled with happy tears for my sister. I was going to be an aunt. I could already see myself spoiling the baby rotten, being the cool aunt who always gave the best gifts. Then my eyes drifted from the miracle in the middle to the clinical text framing it. Date, time, gestational age, and then 2 lines that shattered my universe. Patient name, Chloe my last name. Father, Alex his last name. I read it once. It didn't make sense. It was like trying to read a foreign language. The words were familiar, but they meant nothing in this context. It had to be a mistake. A typo. A sick joke. Maybe the clinic messed up the paperwork. My mind scrambled, trying to build a wall of denial against the horror that was rushing toward me. I read it again. Patient Chloe, father Alex. His arm was still wrapped around me. I could feel his breath on my neck as he murmured something about how happy he was for them, about how our kids would be so close in age. Every word he said was another shovel of dirt on the grave of the life I thought we had. The air in my lungs turned to ice. The happy chatter of the restaurant faded into a dull roar in my ears. My vision narrowed to those two names. Alex, my Alex, the father of my sister's baby. Suddenly, the last few months replayed in my head, but through a new, horrific filter. The late nights Alex claimed were for work deadlines. The hushed phone calls he'd take in the other room. The way Chloe had been leaning on him more and more while Mark was away. I thought he was just being a good brother-in-law. I was proud of him. Now I saw it for what it was. Not kindness, but a conspiracy. Not support, but adultery. The knowing looks between them that I'd mistaken for friendship were signs of a shared, dirty secret. The time I came home early and found them sitting a little too close on the couch, jumping apart when I walked in, they'd laughed it off, saying they were planning a surprise for me. I believed them. I believed every single lie. I felt sick. I had to get out of there. I stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly on the floor. Alex looked up, his face a mask of concern. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I wanted to scream. I am the ghost of the stupid woman who believed you. Instead, I forced a weak smile. I feel a little sick," I stammered. "I think I just need some fresh air." "I'll come with you," he said, already standing up to play the part of the devoted fiancé. "No," I said, the word sharper than I meant it to be. "I just need a minute. I'll be right back." I walked like a zombie toward the restroom, my phone clutched in my hand like a piece of shrapnel. I locked the door and slid down to the cold tile floor, my legs giving out. I looked at the photo again, zooming in on his name until it was a blurry mess of pixels. It didn't change anything. This nightmare was real. The betrayal wasn't just one thing. It was 1,000 little lies woven together by the two people I trusted most. They hadn't just cheated on me. They had built a whole new family right under my nose while I was busy picking out wedding invitations. The drive home was an exercise in pure self-control. I was numb. Alex tried to make small talk, but I just gave one-word answers and stared out the window. When we got home, I said I had a migraine and went straight to bed, curling into a ball on the far edge of our mattress, my back to him. I couldn't stand the thought of him touching me. I lay there in the dark, wide awake, listening to the steady breathing of the man who had ruined my life. And slowly, the shock and heartbreak started to curdle into something else. Something colder, harder, and much more dangerous. Rage, pure rage. And in that dark, a new plan started to form. They were expecting tears. They weren't going to get them. They wrote their story. Now I was going to write the ending. I woke up before the sun the next morning. The rage hadn't faded. It had sharpened into a terrifying clarity. The grief was still a deep, aching wound, but the rage was a shield. It told me what to do. A screaming match would just let them call me hysterical, twist the story, and gaslight me with pathetic excuses. They'd say it was a mistake, that they never meant to hurt me. I refused to give them the satisfaction. Their betrayal wasn't a mistake, it was a campaign. My response would be just as calculated. I slipped out of bed, leaving Alex fast asleep, and went into my home office. The first thing I did was call my sister. My hand was shaking, but my voice was pure honey. "Chloe," I chirped when she answered. "I'm so happy for you. Sorry I didn't call last night. I got a brutal migraine, but oh my God, this is the best news." I could practically hear her relief. "I'm so glad you're excited," she said, her voice dripping with fake emotion. "We're just over the moon." "So tell me everything. How did you find out? When did Mark get back? How did you tell him?" I asked, laying the trap. A slight pause. "Oh, you know Mark," she stammered. "With his crazy schedule. We, had a window when he was back for a few days last month. A quick trip. We decided to keep it quiet until we were sure." The lie was so effortless it made me feel sick all over again. She had her story ready. I played my part, gushing about baby names and asking if I could help plan the baby shower. "I want to be the best aunt in the world," I said, the words tasting like poison. "You will be," she cooed. "You're the best sister in the world." After the call, I sat in silence. The hypocrisy was stunning. She was going to lie to the very end. Fine, so was I. My revenge couldn't just be an explosion. It had to be a controlled demolition. I would be the architect of their downfall, and I'd use their own tools, lies and public performance. I became the perfect, supportive fiancée and sister. I was so sweet it was sickening. I brought Chloe pregnancy snacks. I listened with a calm smile as Alex talked about our wedding. Every loving word he said to me was another piece of evidence. Every secret smile he shared with my sister was another nail in their coffin. Behind this mask, I was a detective, and they'd gotten sloppy. I opened our phone bill online. Hundreds of calls and texts between Alex and Chloe, many late at night, some lasting for hours. I checked the dates against Mark's work schedule. The calls always spiked when he was out of town. Then the credit card statements. Charges I hadn't thought twice about. A dinner for two at a restaurant I'd never been to on a night Alex worked late. A charge from a boutique hotel in the next town, over for a weekend. He supposedly went on a solo hiking trip to clear his head. The hiking trip. He'd come back so relaxed, telling me how much he'd missed me. He'd been with her. I printed everything, phone logs, credit card statements, the hotel reservation I found in his email trash. I saved the ultrasound to a special folder, his name a shining beacon of his betrayal. I was building my case. The perfect opportunity for the reveal basically fell into my lap. Our parents, thrilled about both the engagement and the pregnancy, wanted to throw us a big party. "We could do a joint engagement and baby celebration," my mom said. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. "That's a wonderful idea, Mom," I said, my voice full of fake warmth. "But let me handle it. It can be my gift to Chloe and a thank you to everyone. We can even make it a surprise gender reveal for her." My mother was touched. Chloe and Alex thought it was the sweetest thing ever. They had no idea they were eagerly RSVPing to their own public execution. For the next month, I became a party planner from hell. I booked the fanciest venue I could find, a beautiful garden conservatory. I hired a caterer, a photographer, and a videographer. I wanted every second of their humiliation documented. I sent out gorgeous invitations to everyone we knew. The theme was new beginnings. The irony was delicious. The centerpiece of my plan was a slideshow. I spent hours on it, starting it off innocently enough. Pictures of me and Alex, from college to our engagement. Photos of me and Chloe, from childhood to her wedding day. I wanted to lull everyone into a false sense of security, to remind them of the bonds that were about to be shattered. Then the tone would shift. The music would change. The final section was my masterpiece, a timeline of their affair. A screenshot of the hotel booking, followed by a selfie of them I'd found in his photo cloud, smiling in that very hotel room. Then, a calendar of Mark's work trips highlighted in red, right next to the logs of their endless phone calls on those exact dates. The grand finale, of course, would be the ultrasound. I used a simple photo editor to circle his name in a bright, unforgiving red. I would let that image hang there, on a giant screen in front of our parents, our grandparents, our friends. There would be no escape, no denial, just cold, hard proof. The day of the party was bright and beautiful, which felt like a slap in the face. The sun streamed into the conservatory, lighting up the extravagant white lilies, Alex's favorite, that I had personally chosen. The room was buzzing with over 100 of our friends and family, all sipping champagne and celebrating us, celebrating our lies. I wore a stunning white dress, a deliberately bridal statement. I floated through the room with a serene smile, accepting hugs and congratulations, playing the part of the happy fiancé. Alex was by my side, his hand on my back, looking so proud in his tailored suit. He leaned in and whispered, "This is perfect. You're perfect." I just gave him a dead, cold smile that he was too busy admiring himself to notice. Chloe was glowing. She and Alex kept exchanging little secret smiles when they thought I wasn't looking. But I was looking. I saw everything. They were basking in their victory, totally unaware they were standing at ground zero. After an hour, I walked up to the microphone. The huge screen behind me was blank, waiting. A hush fell over the room. "Hi, everyone," I began, my voice clear and steady. "Thank you all for being here. It means the world to share this day with the people we love most." I looked at Alex and he beamed. I turned to our parents. Family, love, trust. These are the things that matter most. They're the foundation of everything. I took a breath. I've been so lucky. I have the most wonderful parents, the best friends, and I thought the most incredible fiancé. I paused. And of course, I have my sister, Chloe, my best friend. I looked right at her. She dabbed her eyes, moved by my words. The fool. "So today is about celebrating new beginnings," I announced. "My new beginning with Alex, and the new beginning for Chloe's family. In fact, I thought we could all share in one more surprise." I gave Chloe a wink. "It's time for the gender reveal." The crowd cheered. Chloe and Alex looked thrilled, caught in my trap. "But first," I said, "I put together a little trip down memory lane, a celebration of the love that brought us all here." I clicked the remote. Sweet, nostalgic music began to play as photos of our happy life flashed across the screen. People were smiling, tearing up. It was all going according to plan. Then the music screeched to a halt. The screen went black. The room fell silent. A new image appeared, the hotel confirmation. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Before they could process it, the next picture flashed up, the selfie of Alex and Chloe in the hotel room. Gasps echoed through the conservatory. I saw my mother's hand fly to her mouth. I kept clicking. The calendar of Mark's trips next to the phone logs. The sheer volume of their secret calls was undeniable. The room was dead silent now, thick with shock. I turned to face them. Their faces were white. Alex's jaw was slack. Chloe was trembling, her eyes wide with terror. They looked like cornered animals. "You see," I said, my voice dripping with ice, "I've been learning a lot about new beginnings, and about secrets." I clicked the remote one last time. The ultrasound photo filled the giant screen. There it was for everyone to see. Father, Alex, his last name, circled in vicious, glaring red. A collective gasp sucked the air out of the room. My mother let out a strangled sob. "The text said, 'We are pregnant,'" I announced to the horrified room. I was confused at first. I thought maybe Mark came home early, but it turns out the "we" was right here all along. I gestured from Chloe to Alex. "My fiancé and my sister." Alex finally found his voice. "This isn't true," he choked out. "She's lying, she's crazy." "Am I?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "Is that a fake ultrasound, Chloe? Why don't you show everyone the original on your phone? Oh, wait, you sent it to me." Chloe just stood there, tears streaming down her face, speechless. The game was over. I looked at Alex, the man I was going to marry. All I felt was contempt. "Congratulations on your new family," I said. I pulled the diamond ring off my finger. "I believe this is yours." With a flick of my wrist, I tossed it. It landed with a soft thud in the middle of the 5-tier cake we had picked out together. "You're going to need it." And with that, I turned my back on the wreckage. I didn't look back at my weeping sister or my sputtering ex-fiancé. I walked past the beautiful flowers, the untouched food, and the videographer who had captured every glorious second of their downfall. I walked out of the conservatory and into the bright afternoon of my new life. And for the first time in months, I could breathe again. Section 5. The Aftermath and the New Dawn. The days that followed were a storm of frantic calls, desperate texts, and pleading voicemails. Alex sent novels apologizing, making excuses, and then accusing me of ruining his life by telling the truth. Chloe's messages were just endless strings of "I'm so sorry" and "please talk to me." I deleted them all, blocked their numbers, and turned my phone off for a week. The family was shattered. My father left me a single, firm voicemail telling me he was disgusted by what they'd done and that he was proud of me. That was all I needed. My mother tried to mediate, begging me to consider forgiveness for the sake of the family and the baby. I had to tell her, as calmly as I could, that the family she was trying to save no longer existed. They had burned it to the ground. My friends became my lifeline. They formed a wall around me, helping me pack my things from the house I'd shared with Alex, letting me cry when the rage finally gave way to grief, and just sitting in silence with me when I had no words left. Rebuilding wasn't some triumphant movie montage. It was slow, painful, and hard. It meant going to therapy to untangle the grief of losing not just a partner, but the sister I thought I knew. That was the deeper pain. You can replace a fiancé. You can't replace the person who shares your blood and your entire childhood. But with every box I unpacked in my new, small apartment, I felt a little stronger. I was free. I was no longer living a lie. The life they blew up was beautiful, but it wasn't real. My new life was messy and uncertain, but it was honest. And it was mine. I ended up moving to a new city a few hours away, a place with no ghosts on every corner. I got a new job, made new friends, and piece by piece, I started building a future that belonged only to me. I heard through the grapevine that they had the baby, a boy. I hope, for that child's sake, they find a way to be better people. But their story isn't my concern anymore. My story is about my own resilience. I learned the hardest lesson there is about trust, but I also learned that I am strong enough to survive its demolition. I am not the woman they betrayed. I am the woman who walked out of the fire, and I will never let anyone else hold the match again. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that changed everything? Share your story in the comments below. And if you want more tales of karma and justice, make sure to subscribe.